The historic winter storm along the Gulf Coast in the southeast has wrapped up, but not before shattering and crushing tons of records. We're going to be going into that and looking ahead at more lake effect snow, looking at the pattern as we go through the rest of this month and into early February. We got some interesting weather ahead, especially as we turn the page to February. So if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe here, follow along with all of my detailed daily weather breakdowns, and also like the video, give it a thumbs up, share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I definitely appreciate it. Let's look at the past 24 hours because it has been an historic, unprecedented 24 hours of time from Houston to Lake Charles, New Orleans to Mobile, all the way into the northwest part of the state of Florida, Georgia, into parts of the Carolinas. It has just been a lot of snow over the past 24 hours, with reports coming in of a lot of 6 to 8 to 12 inch reports as well across the Gulf Coast, literally at the beach. And looking here at breaking records, first ever blizzard warnings were issued in southeast Texas and southwestern Louisiana. In New Orleans, our old record was 10 inches set back on February 15th, 1895. We tied that yesterday with 10 inches officially in New Orleans, set on January 21st, 2025. That was a 130-year-old record. Mobile, Alabama, old record, 3.6 inches of snow set back in 1973. New record as of yesterday was 7.5 inches. That was a 52-year-old record. And finally, Florida state snowfall record was shattered here. Old record was 3 inches. That fell in Pensacola, Florida back in 1895. Our new record as of yesterday is 8.8 inches. That fell in Milton, Florida. That is also a 130-year-old record. Just some incredible stuff. Let's look here at the precipitation as we go into the afternoon, and it's clear as a bell across the Gulf Coast and off the southeast coast. That system is finally over the open water of the Atlantic. Now, we are going to be dealing with a little bit of cleanup here. Some snow-covered roads still out there, especially with eastward extent toward the Carolinas, Georgia, and North Florida. But the conditions will improve vastly, especially into this afternoon and tonight. And looking up here at the Great Lakes, we have lake effect snow that continues to roar in from the west as we have the colder winds over top of the relatively mild, but probably a lot colder now, Great Lakes this afternoon. And you can see as we go into tonight, that lake effect snow really taking hold for the upper peninsula of Michigan into western lower Michigan. That continues into Thursday. Friday's a day where we're going to start to taper off some of those lake effect snow bands, but they'll be out there, but they'll be more isolated as we go into Friday. Here's the additional snowfall accumulation with those lake effect snow bands that takes us through Saturday, January 25th. And notice the heaviest over here in the downwind part of Lake Michigan, western lower Michigan, that is 8 to 12 inches of additional snow. Still some significant snow there near the shoreline. Upper peninsula of Michigan, eastern side of that could see a good 3 to 7 inches, and then some lake effect snow bands continuing there in western New York State and northwestern Pennsylvania. Today, we have the cold air. It's departing slowly as we go through the day across the east. It's pretty cold out here, and you can see that'll continue into Thursday. We got another push of some cold air in the upper Midwest, and then by Friday, finally, we at least in the middle of the country, the Great Plains, parts of the upper Midwest start to moderate our temperatures, and the colder anomalies push further toward the eastern seaboard. Here are the afternoon highs we expect today. A vast warm-up across the Midwest from the single digits below zero to the teens and 20s above zero as we go into this afternoon. 30s not too far behind to the south and west. A little bit of a cold afternoon, though, for the Northeast as the core of that Arctic air is still close by in southeastern Canada, just over the border in Quebec. Then as we go into Thursday, another push of some Arctic air, not as potent as what we just saw there in the upper Midwest, but we're still seeing the single digits to teens for highs, so it'll make it pretty cold out there. Make sure to bundle up tomorrow if you're heading off to work or school. And then as we go into Friday, we're going to moderate our temperatures. Look at the 32-degree line in the Dakotas, going all the way up to North and South Dakota there, and still in the 20s. But hey, it's a warmer day on Friday than what we just got through earlier this week in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the Northeast. Going into the weekend, moderating temperatures will be the theme here as we go across the middle of the country. We still will have below normal temperatures across the south. It's just typically warmer in the south than it is here. So we're going to see some colder air, but it's still going to be warmer than this, blast we just got through. So Saturday afternoon, 40s, 50s, traveling all the way up toward the lower part of the Midwest into the Ohio Valley. And Sunday here, maybe a minor step back, but still, again, a nice day out there, a typical January day anyway, in the 20s and the 30s. And we're going to be melting that snowpack near the Gulf Coast. Pretty significant snowpack we laid down here. That's currently in place. And then as we go into the weekend with the warmer air, especially back here toward the plains, I think areas of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi will start to see more significant melting first. And then that will translate further east as that warmer air moves further east into early next week. And then the Carolinas, Georgia, and North Florida will start to see significant melting. And by early next week, by Tuesday, likely not seeing any snow on the ground anywhere across the Gulf Coast or the Southeast. Now, going through the rest of this month of January, we're going to see a warmer trend in the middle of the country. You can see that highlighted by the Climate Prediction Center in the upper Midwest and parts of South Florida. A little bit of some below normal temperatures in Northeast and New England, but some well below normal temperatures down here in the desert Southwest. And that is going to promote, unfortunately, more dry weather for California. So those wildfires, unfortunately, will continue to rage on. Some of that dry weather will continue across the middle of the country. We do have some active weather, though, with the subtropical jet further to the south, and this could bring some hefty rainfall totals to the Lone Star State here, especially along and east of the I-35 corridor, Dallas, Fort Worth, Waco, San Antonio, Austin, and over here toward Houston, and then eastward through Dixie Alley. Pretty dry up here to the north, as we did show you, from the northern plains, Midwest, into the Ohio Valley, and any snowfall we see from that will be here in the mountains out across Arizona, New Mexico, southern Colorado, maybe some snow here in West Texas, like the Texas Panhandle, including that, Oklahoma Panhandle up into western portions of Kansas. Otherwise, the heaviest of the snows in the United States will really be the Cascades in the Pacific Northwest next week. And up here in Canada, we're going to have some pretty active weather. Yes, we're going to see snow heaviest across the western coast of British Columbia and Yukon, but definitely seeing a clipper system track up here through the Northwest Territories, northern Saskatchewan. That'll dive southeast towards portions there of Manitoba, in towards Ontario, and then into the upper Great Lakes, kind of feeding more into that lake effect snowfall. Turning into early February, very interesting pattern setup here. Let's kind of walk you through it. So step by step, we're looking here at a ridge across the south and southeast. That'll begin to appear. They'll begin to build as we go in the first 7 days or so of February. And then that trough kind of backs up here, retrogrades. It's been kind of over here in southeastern Canada. We're going to see that shift west into western and southwestern Canada early in February, and that will promote cold temperatures in Alaska once again, into western Canada, and some of that could actually be tapped into across the Pacific Northwest as well. But notice the baroclinic zone. We got mild, warmer temperatures to the south, colder temperatures here retrieved up to the north, and that is where our storm track will set up. So the low pressure systems are coming across the west coast. They'll dive down here towards the Texas Panhandle and lift up somewhere across the lower Midwest, the Ohio Valley, or Great Lakes. To the northwest of that track, we're keeping an eye on some hefty snowfall already being modeled out. Now, again, this is several days out, so don't take this here and run to the bank with it, but just giving you an idea of the storm track. It's going to come from the southwest, which that means that we're going to grab moisture from the eastern Pacific and Gulf of Mexico, and here we go. Maybe a rain system early in February, as the European model shows, and that could bring a maybe blizzard across the Midwest. There are analogs that support this type of pattern. If you remember the Groundhog Day blizzard back in 2011, you remember some big storms in 2014. Those are some of the analog years that follows along with early February. And looking here at GFS model, it's pretty similar here. We got some bigger low pressure systems, strong low pressure systems that'll bring heavier snows to places that haven't quite honestly seen snow this season. Chicago, the Twin Cities, Des Moines, Green Bay, Milwaukee, Kansas City may be seeing more snow as well. Something to keep an eye on. And you can see it here on the ensemble guidance. The precipitation anomalies are highlighting these areas here with some very active weather, and that does include some hefty snow amounts and potentially some ice storm threats there as well in the early portion of February. We'll keep you covered. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe to the channel and follow along with all of my detailed weather breakdowns as we go forward through the month here and into February. Like the video, give it a thumbs up. I definitely appreciate it. Also, share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I also appreciate that as well. And if you want to leave any comments, questions, and concerns below, I'll answer those after the video, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Wednesday out there.